Hello and welcome to episode 27 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. A slightly different kind of episode this week. We've just got some thoughts from the panel on the last two games, which were Halifax at the weekend with the 1-0 win and the defeat away at Braintree on Tuesday night after being 1-0 up. So I didn't get to either of them. I've only just seen the highlights, so I'm not going to even put in my thoughts. I'll bring my thoughts to the next episode, I'm sure, after Oldham and Tamworth. So yeah, we've got some thoughts on those games, thoughts looking ahead. So it's Julian, Ian, Charlie, and Guy that have sent in their thoughts. And yeah, I'm going to put them in order, and then that'll be the episode. So we'll be back to doing normal stuff probably next week, although I will be in North Wales, so unsure. Anyway, enjoy the episode, and if you want to get in touch, email atfcpodcast@gmail.com. All right, up the shots.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Halifax game was everything that we'd hoped for. Defence looked solid. Back three, I thought, were impressive. I think I mentioned on the pod last week that they haven't really got a recognised striker. So the defence has always been their sort of strong point. So it was always going to be a case of getting in front and then managing the result. And I think we did that. Great performances. Hargreaves, I thought, was excellent. Widdrington, again, with the assist. He's playing so much better than last season. Luke Jenkins, for me, was the man of the match. He was excellent in possession, got to his clearances, won, I think, over 95% of the headers. So he was superb. And it was a game of few chances. I'm not sure that it was ever going to be anything more than one or two goals in it. If there was a little bit of constructive feedback, then we probably didn't create enough chances during the game. But then you could argue that once we were ahead early on, it was our game to manage, and we certainly did that. So overall, a great result. Our first clean sheet of the season, and bearing in mind we only kept 3 clean sheets away from home in the whole of last season. That's a pretty good start. So all in all, a great result.
Evening all, Ian here. 24 hours on since defeat at Braintree. Very, very disappointed with the end result. Did feel like 3 points thrown away. However, sort of looking back, perhaps that is a slight overreaction. It was my first look at the shots in person for 24-25, and there was plenty to be encouraged by. I like the look of a number of the new additions, especially Cameron Hargreaves. I think he's going to be a key player for the season ahead. First half, I thought we were good value for the league. There were a couple of missed opportunities by Braintree that perhaps they should have scored. But I think we did pretty well, and I liked Ryan Jones' well-taken finish to put us 1-0 ahead. Of course, in that first half, we lost Josh Barrett, which was very disappointing. I was really looking forward to seeing how he went, especially with the reports of what he was like against Forest Green and, of course, up at Halifax. But yeah, it wasn't to be. Second half, disappointing. Should have been 2-3-0 up. The Frost chance from what looked like 6 to 10 yards out, put over the bar. And Macoma driving forward, clean shot, looked a certain goal, but unfortunately he's hit it into Jack Barham, who was standing ready to sort of follow up the rebound or whatever. So bit of a shame there. And then we seem to be exploited down our left side by Braintree, who kind of grew into the game in the second half. And they made pretty straightforward sort of crossing from the right for Lisby to score a quick brace, and we quickly went from leading to going home with nothing in what felt like a very short space of time. Quick word on Braintree, Effiong. Obviously, we kept him largely quiet, but Akinde, when he replaced Effiong, I think was pretty impressive. I did chuckle at the way that he was bullying some of our players off the ball, particularly Tyler Frost. And of course, Lisby as well looks a talent, and you wonder if he'll find himself way up the league or back into the Football League at some point, because he took his chances well. Braintree seem like they've got a bit about them, especially with Akinde, Effiong, Lisby, and you think that they'll be fine on that evidence. Shots, disappointing night. Went home with nothing. Feel we should have got something, but interesting bank holiday weekend ahead. Oldham at home, good yardstick of where we are, and Tamworth away on Monday. So hopefully this is just a blip and we can get at least 4 points over the weekend. Cheers.
So just back after a really disappointing late defeat against Braintree in what was always going to be a tough game, but I think the manner in which we lost it, to go from leading and then to obviously lose so late is really gutting, from like a scrappy set piece. But onto the goals. Our goal where we took the lead actually came during a period in which we were probably under quite a bit of pressure. Braintree were kind of ending the first half stronger, I would say, forcing a succession of corners, throw-ins, that type of thing. But we kind of weathered the storm quite well, and when we were defending one of these, barrage of crosses, we managed to get the ball clear, and it was good work from Tyler Frost down the right hand side to create space before he played it into the middle for Theo, who had acres of space in truth, and then he dinked a lovely little pass through to Ryan Jones. Kept his composure well, managed to bundle through a defender who probably should have done better, but then slot home a really, really nice finish. It was obviously just before half time, so a great time to score. And we went into the half time with a lead that we probably didn't quite deserve. It'd been quite a cagey first half, but we were obviously defended well, and we're really happy to go in front at half time. As for the other goals, the first goal for Braintree, I mean, I'll have to see it back, but I think we were just caught out. We gave away a free kick just inside Braintree's half. I think it was for an offside decision. They essentially took it quickly, did a really good diagonal switch to their right-hand side. Ball went over, I think, Ryan Jones' head. I don't know if he should have been closer to his man, but it went over his head. And then their right winger whipped in absolutely delicious ball into the middle. A really good cross, probably like one of the few bits of quality in the entire game. Lisby just ran on and really couldn't miss from about 8 yards out with a free header. It really was, the goal was all in the cross, to be honest with you. It was such a good delivery. And then, kind of out of nowhere, it was 1-1, and we'd actually looked quite comfortable up until that point, I'd say. So that was really disappointing. And then finally, the second goal, the winner for Braintree, they'd put us under a lot of pressure with a series of free kicks, corners, and just general punts forward. And eventually that pressure told. I think it was following again another one of these set pieces. They recycled the ball, got the cross into the area. It was headed clear initially, but then headed straight back into the area from their centre back, and it just seemed like Lisby got the better of whoever was marking him. Managed to get his body in the right place and just turn it in on the volley from fairly close range. I don't think there's anything Dewhurst could have done to claim that ball, and I don't really think there's much he could have done to have saved it. I just think the defending needed to be stronger. So really, really disappointing, because we know what Braintree were going to be like. We knew what their strengths were, and we just couldn't hold out.
So my main takeaway from the two games against Halifax and Braintree are a feeling of frustration and tempered with some optimism. Let's start with the optimistic sides of things. So I think in both cases, with the Halifax game, The defence seemed pretty solid. I mean, there were few chances, and it was great that Aldershot managed to get onto the score sheet so early on and then defended fairly stoutly throughout. And that seems to be the case as well with Braintree. The team seemed to do pretty well, holding Braintree at bay, particularly as they started to come back. It did get a bit scrappy in the second half, with the ball being pinged around and Aldershot players not really holding on to it. And it was disappointing to concede both 15 minutes from time and then almost into injury time for that late winner. That was frustrating, and it's undid a lot of the good work that had been done up until now, because my general feeling was that the team was holding out and demonstrating much stronger defensive nous compared to last year. Last year, it was very much the case that when Aldershot was defending, you felt that there could well be a goal coming. I didn't feel that happening, at least for the first 75 minutes or so. I mean, if they can keep that going, then that's encouraging. Now, negatives, I mean, my main worry, I guess, is where the goals are going to come from. I mean, that's basically 2 goals in 2 games and very few chances. After his stellar first match performance, Hadi Khandor was pretty anonymous, particularly in the Braintree game. He didn't really sort of impose himself at all. And I mean, while the midfield is doing sterling work, I feel there needs to be a connection up at the top, and that's probably what needs to be sort of resolved before the end of the month. Perhaps bringing in some new players, as well as that, I guess we should also factor in that Braintree, it was coming, I guess. They had a disappointing first game, and I'd talked in previous episode about how they were still a new team learning to gel together, and they managed to at least they put together a more team performance this time round. It is frustrating, of course, having lost to the team that was coming up, particularly after such a good job against Halifax, which themselves had done pretty well against one of sort of the teams that are judged expected to do better at the weekend. So it's a bit of both, cup half full, cup half empty, I guess. Now, looking forward to the next 2 games, Oldham and Tamworth. I mean, again, we've got a little bit of a similar things going on with Halifax and Braintree, in the sense that we've got sort of a team that's expected to do quite well, Oldham, and a new team that's coming through, Tamworth. Oldham's has put down a pretty solid, first few games. So, although they didn't do so well against Field on Tuesday night, I'm sure they'll be back for it against Aldershot at the weekend. So we will need to be on our toes a bit, and I guess it comes back to where are the goals going to come from. Tamworth as well, you would think on the face of it that we had a better chance against them than we do against Oldham, but I would just go into that game with a little bit of trepidation, just like with the Braintree game. I guess what we want to try and avoid is winning a game here, losing a game there. I mean, that's going to be the death of us, particularly if we're aiming to try and push ourselves up the table and be in sort of playoff contention towards the end of the season. So it's really these games we need to pick up. I mean, even if we're not going to win them, just to sort of grind out a draw. And I really thought we were going to do that on Tuesday night. So those are my thoughts.
So where do I start with the Braintree game? It was one of those games where you don't want to be sucked into their style of play. We discussed it on the pod last week. Big strikers, horrible pitch. We need to control the game. And the first half, I thought we played really well, actually. First half, we were playing our football. We dealt with the conditions. It was our tempo. And the goal from Nathan Jones was a great goal. Good teamwork, looking slick, looking effective. Going in at half-time, looking good. Now, my concern was that they were going to come out second half and change the way they play, and to certain extent, we did weather the storm, for the first 10, 15 minutes after play restarted. But as the second half went on, they were playing to their strengths. You could see that they were playing to their strengths. And unfortunately, we sort of got suckered in, a little bit naive, perhaps, in that we didn't continue doing what we were doing in the first half. My concern was that perhaps we weren't holding the ball up ourselves, and it was getting more and more like sort of one-way traffic. When they brought Lisby on in the second half, he was obviously a handful for us. And they played to their strengths. Fair play to Braintree. They played to their strengths and they did what they're good at. So I think we need to learn some lessons from this one. We need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do rather than them dictating the play. The goals, unfortunately, were really disappointing, and I've got to say I'm gutted that with 20 minutes to go we were still winning, and we ended up taking nothing away from that game. So really disappointed with that. A bit concerned about the front line. Hadi and Kai are working hard, but Kai just needs a chance. And although he had a good chance last night, he didn't take it. He needs a goal. So I'm really hoping that Saturday's game is his chance to shine, because he needs a goal. I think once he gets his goal, he's going to be up and running. But obviously, the longer it goes on, the more pressure that he will be feeling under to justify his move to us. So let's hope that Corbett scores on Saturday against Oldham.
Standout players for me, I have to say that I'm really enjoying the defensive lineup of particularly Luke Jenkins and Christian Magoma. They seem to be linking up fairly well along that left side, and it looks a lot more solid. In defence, with Theo Widdrington has really been good value for money. I think he's doing pretty well there. Really stepped it up from last season. Hargreaves was also quite solid in the Braintree game when he did get the ball, and Ryan Jones also showed some flashes. I just felt that there wasn't enough sort of linking up really at the top of the pitch as there was between the defence and the midfield. On Widball, whether it's evolving, I have to say that compared to last season when we were seeing a lot of goals being scored up at the top and also a lot of goals being conceded at the back, which seems to be the nature of the play that Tommy Widdrington had brought to the team. Well, the last two games seem to be different, don't they? I mean, we're seeing a lot less goals, it's tighter at the defence, but also a lot less happening up at the top. Defensively, that's good, but offensively, this could cost us if we don't start, at least getting more goals, if not from the same player, then from spread around the team. So it does feel that we're a little bit tighter, or a bit more balanced than last season. Maybe for the neutral, it's not going to be so attractive, but we're not neutrals, are we?
So our first away game, Halifax away, showed a really good defensive display. We snatched a goal early on. Fantastic goal from Barrett. We know he's capable of doing that, which is something that's really good to have in the locker. And then we just decided to sit back, and I think it's a mixture of the fact that Halifax's attack isn't that great, but also how much our defence has improved under Tommy Widdrington. The defensive side of things, I couldn't see really any faults with it really. Teams seem to go 1-0 up and then stand back and try and defend, which is decent. I quite like it. I thought Jenkins and Hargreaves, particularly in that game, were just absolutely outstanding. It goes to show the quality of our defence. Really, Dewhurst had nothing to do the whole game. I think that was quite telling of what happened.
But yeah, it was an all-round decent performance. I know people who follow Halifax, and they said that Aldershot did a job on us, which, yeah, you could say that. But again, it's something we haven't had last season, was the defensive performance that we saw. For the Braintree game, basically, I think they just did a job on us, to be honest. The pitch when we got there wasn't at its best. Even the lines for the penalty area were so faded you could barely see it. The pitch was very uneven, very bobbly, so we couldn't really play the ball on the ground very well. So that forced us to play their game in the air. And I think, as much as they won't admit it, it's deliberate. And obviously with big players like they've got, they're always going to win the aerial game, and I think we changed our game to their suit, and they took full advantage. And I think again we tried to do that 1-0 up and then sit back and defend. I think we did really well in the first half, and then the second half it was just two really, I would say it's not lazy, it's just small little decisions that didn't go our way. From our own cause. So the offside for the first goal was just like, it was on the edge of the halfway line that it was offside. It was just a really silly one to concede. And the second one again, it's just, they just plonked it in the box, and unfortunately they found someone to put it in the back of the net. So I think it's just one of these we have to scratch off to experience. I don't think the teams around us will get 3 points at Braintree either. If they just got to, when they come to us, I don't think we'll have a problem in dispatching them. I just think that they played a certain game at their ground, and they will do that, and they will win the game if they can do it better than their opponent. I just think it's one that we scratch off to experience. I don't think we panic about it. We've got another 40 games to go. And I'm sure if at the beginning of the season, the first 3 games, we said we'd take 4 points, that everybody would take that. Because Forest Green, we did well to draw, we did really well to beat Halifax, and we slept up against Braintree. And I wouldn't be surprised this weekend if we go and beat Oldham and then go and lose to Tamworth. It's just, I think, the way we play. So, but we will see on those. Score predictions. I think we're going to beat Oldham in the weekend, so I think we'll beat them 2-1. I think we'll be going to a more attacking flow of football at home than what we will be away. I don't think Oldham will concede that many, but I think they can score. They're more than capable of the players they got. But I think we've got enough to beat them. And the game against Tamworth, it's 3G pitch, away from home. It's going to be a tricky one. It's again a head versus heart feeling. I think I'm going to go 1-0 Aldershot. I think we'll score, we'll sit back, and I think we'll get the result.
So we have 2 more games coming up, with Oldham at home on Saturday, followed by the bank holiday trip to Tamworth. And in some senses, both those games are going to be a mirror image of our trips to Halifax and Braintree. The Oldham game, I think, we will, in a bizarre way, find it easier. Oldham will be looking to get a result at our place, and I think it actually lends itself to us playing how we play. So I'm anticipating a good result on Saturday against Oldham. I think we've got the ability to beat them, and I think James Henry and I think Tetek will play a part too in the game. Whether or not Ollie Harfield is fit to come back, I'm not sure. And it may be that Tommy goes into the market and brings in another player before Saturday and Monday, because I do expect some changes, not only because of the Braintree defeat, but because it is going to be 4 games in 9 days. So I think there will be some changes to be made, even if it's just to freshen things up. So I'm anticipating a victory on Saturday against Oldham, and then the Tamworth game, to be honest, could be anything. It could be a win, lose or draw. It just depends which Shots team turn up. And I'm really hoping that with the lessons that we've learnt from the Braintree game, that we don't get sucked into how Tamworth want to play and that we dictate the game, because we all know if we dictate the game, if we get on the ball and we do our thing, then we will be victorious. So I've got my rose tinted glasses on, but I think Tommy's got the capabilities to get 2 wins, and that will set us up really nicely for the rest of the season. So let's hope for 2 wins.